Picture this: a line of prisoners waiting outside a courtroom, each one hoping for parole, a second chance at life. Inside, 3 judges sit behind heavy wooden desks. They've been reviewing cases since early morning. Files stack high, voices drone, and the clock creeps toward noon. Then something strange begins to happen. The first few prisoners of the morning, they often walk out free. But those who appear right before lunch, their requests are almost always denied. Coincidence? Hardly. This pattern, repeated again and again, baffled researchers until a group of psychologists decided to test it. What they discovered would forever change how we think about fairness, focus, and fatigue. This is the story of the Hungry Judges experiment, one of the most unsettling demonstrations of decision fatigue ever recorded. In 2011, researchers from Ben Gurion University and Columbia University analyzed over 1,100 parole board decisions in Israeli prisons. Every judge reviewed dozens of cases a day, each requiring a complex decision. Should the prisoner be granted parole, or should they remain behind bars? Now, logic would tell us that these decisions should depend on the facts, the severity of the crime, the prisoner's behavior, their risk level. But when psychologists plotted the results over time, they found something chilling. At the start of the day, about 65% of parole requests were approved. By mid-morning, that number plummeted to nearly 0. Then, after the judges took a break, a snack, maybe some coffee, the approval rate shot back up to 65%. The same pattern repeated every single day. And the only consistent variable? Time since the last break.
So what was happening? Psychologists called it decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion that builds up when we make too many choices in a row. Each decision, no matter how small, drains a bit of mental energy. You can picture it like a battery slowly losing charge. For judges, every case required intense mental effort, reading reports, weighing moral responsibility, imagining consequences. By the time they neared lunchtime, their mental battery was nearly empty. And when that happens, the brain doesn't necessarily stop working, it just starts taking shortcuts. In this case, the shortcut was playing it safe. Approving parole means risk. What if the prisoner reoffends? Denying parole means no blame. So as fatigue set in, the judges defaulted to the easiest, safest answer. No. Not because they were cruel, not because the cases were worse, but because their brains were tired. You might be thinking, well, I'm not a judge. I don't decide people's freedom. But here's the twist. You are in the same experiment every single day. You face decision fatigue constantly, from the moment you wake up. What to wear, what to eat, which email to reply to first, whether to go to the gym or scroll Instagram for just 5 minutes. Each choice drains a little energy from your mental reserves. And by the afternoon, your brain, just like those judges, starts taking shortcuts. You default to the easy options, the junk food, the impulse buy, the procrastination. That's why many of us start the day with plans of steel and end it giving in to instant gratification. Not because we're weak, but because we're depleted.
For decades, society has praised willpower. The idea that successful people simply choose better or try harder. But the judge's experiment shattered that myth. even the most educated, experienced professionals, tasked with matters of life and freedom, were swayed by something as trivial as hunger. Their moral judgment fluctuated like blood sugar levels. And that's a sobering thought. Psychologists began to realize that willpower isn't a moral strength. It's a limited biological resource. When your brain runs low on glucose and focus, your ability to make rational, fair, or creative decisions plummets. In other words, your mind doesn't just get tired, it gets lazy. Decision fatigue doesn't just affect fairness or productivity. It creates ripple effects across every part of life. In hospitals, doctors under fatigue tend to prescribe antibiotics more often, even when unnecessary, because it's the easiest, quickest option. In corporate offices, executives late in the day are more likely to delay decisions or approve familiar proposals instead of innovative ones. In relationships, couples argue more at night, not because of deeper conflict, but because their decision bandwidth is gone. By the evening, emotional regulation weakens, empathy fades, and patience runs dry. Every choice earlier in the day, even trivial ones, contributes to this slow drain, like 1,000 tiny paper cuts on your brain's attention span.
So how does decision fatigue actually work inside the brain? Imagine two systems competing for control. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman famously called them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional. System 2 is slow, deliberate, logical. When you're fresh, System 2 is in charge, analyzing, weighing, reflecting. But as fatigue grows, System 1 starts taking over. That's when you make snap judgments. That's when judges say no without thinking. That's when you say, "I'll deal with it tomorrow." Your brain shifts from thinking mode to survival mode. And it doesn't announce the change. You just feel like you're deciding logically, but you're not. Here's a small but powerful insight from this research. Most people underestimate how few high-quality decisions they can make in a day. For most of us, it's about 3 to 5. After that, accuracy and self-control start to fall sharply. That's why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Why Barack Obama once said, "I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing. I have too many other decisions to make." They weren't being eccentric. They were saving cognitive energy. Every unnecessary choice you eliminate is like giving your brain an extra hour of clarity. So if you're wondering why your afternoons feel foggy or why you can't make clear choices after work, it's not motivation, it's math.
Let's go back to those judges for a moment. After the study went public, people were shocked. Some called it the most disturbing example of human bias in modern psychology. But it also gave researchers a clue about how to fight decision fatigue. The solution wasn't to make judges superhuman, it was to make them human in smarter ways. After the experiment, many courts began introducing structured breaks, not as luxury, but as necessity. Because just a 10-minute rest and a small snack could restore mental clarity and fairness for hours. Food didn't just feed the body, it recharged justice. Here's what this means for your daily life. You can't eliminate decisions, but you can design your environment to protect your mind from fatigue. Automate small choices. Eat the same breakfast. Schedule routines. Front-load important decisions. Do your hardest thinking early in the day. Take mini breaks. Even 5 minutes of rest, water, or sunlight can reset your clarity. Don't make emotional decisions on an empty stomach. Seriously, hunger biases judgment more than most people realize. Your mind is a biological system. not a moral machine. Treat it like one. Because the scariest part of the judge experiment isn't what it revealed about them. It's what it reveals about all of us. Every no you say out of exhaustion, every yes you give to avoid thinking, is a small echo of that courtroom, playing out in your own life.
We like to believe that we're always rational, that our choices define us. But sometimes, it's our energy levels, not our values, that decide. So tomorrow morning, when you face your first big choice, remember this. The difference between fairness and fatigue, between clarity and chaos, might just be a sandwich and 10 minutes of rest. Your brain is the lab. Test this out for a week and tell us what happens.